بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sunday class lesson number 22. Basic religious teaching. Recite the Quran daily. Dear children, in the Iman Mufassal, we believe in Allah, the angels, the Prophet, the day of judgment, destiny, and being raised after death is mentioned. Believe in divine books is also highlighted. Among these divine books, the last one mentioned is the Quran. The Quran is the final book revealed by Allah, and it was sent down to the last prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just as it is essential to have faith in this book, it is equally important to understand it, convey its message to others, and recite it regularly. So today, make a firm resolution to recite the Quran daily. It is not necessary to read 8 or 10 parts every day, nor it is required to read one part daily. You can recite as much as is convenient for you. 2 or 3 pages, or even 1 page, or at least 2 or 3 verses. But make it a habit to recite the Quran every day from now on. Come on, say inshallah. Remember, the habits formed in childhood often last into old age and even until death. Resolve to recite the Quran daily and decide how many pages, juz or ruku you will read, or how many chapters you will recite. The Quran has been divided into chapters, parts, manzil, and rukus for your convenience. There are 30 parts, 114 chapters, 7 manzil, and 550 ruku in the Quran. There are some facts about the Quran. Today, inshallah, we want to tell you something about reciting the Quran. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to recite the Quran. In verse 129 of the Surah Al-Baqarah, it is mentioned, يَتُلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ, who will recite to them your verses. Similarly, the Quran commands in another place, recite the Quran slowly, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, recite the Quran slowly and clearly. This means that the Quran is a secret book of Allah. It has been sent from down from the sky. It is the word of Allah. These are not the words of any human, but the Lord of all majesty. Therefore, recite the word of Allah with proper care and respect, and with proper tajweed and tartil. Tajweed means that all the letters of the Quran are pronounced correctly. Ain as ain, ha as ha, and so on. Where a letter needs to be hidden, it should be hidden. Where letters need to be merged, they should be merged. Where a letter should be made apparent, it should be made apparent. And where a letter needs to be stretched, it should be stretched accordingly. This is what is called the tajweed. You might have learned or are learning in the Nurani Qaida about the concept like izhar, idgham, ikhfa, iqlab, qalqala, madd muttassil, madd lazim. Yes. Reciting the Quran while following this rule is called tajweed. To read the Quran with tajweed, request a hafiz, qari or alim to teach you, or regularly attend a madrasa to learn proper recitation. Remember, when you recite this pure and holy book of Allah with sincerity, focus, and attention, your faith will increase and your belief will be strengthened. In the verse of the Surah Anfal, verse number 2, it is mentioned, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. The believers are those whose heart tremble when Allah is mentioned, and when His verses are recited to them, their faith increase and they trust in their Lord. Dear children, when you are at home, set a specific time for recitation. Whether it's after Fajr, after school, after playing, after Maghrib prayer, and recite the Quran daily, regularly. In the Quran, it is stated, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Recite as much of the Quran is easy for you. Those who read and listen the Quran should be in such a state that tears flow from their eyes. Allahu Akbar. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to recite the Quran, and the companions would listen attentively, and tears would flow from their eyes because they understood what they were listening to. Therefore, you should also try to understand the Quran when you read or listen to it. If you understand it, your heart will be moved and tears will flow from your eyes. Regarding the companions, it is mentioned that وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الْقُرْآنِ, and when they hear what has been revealed to the messenger, you see their eyes overflow with tears because they recognize the truth. They say, our Lord, we believe, so write us among the witness to the truth. Whenever the Quran is recited before us, we should leave others' matter and listen to it attentively. In Surah Araf, the verse number 204, it is commanded, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. When the Quran is recited, listen it to attentively and remain silent so that you may be shown mercy. So when the Quran is being recited, pause all other tasks for a while. Remain silent and listen to the word of Allah attentively. This is a proper respect and reverence for the Quran Majid. Now, inshallah, we'll explain two verses of the Quran Majid. The first one, the Surah Al-Nahl, the verse number 91. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَاهَدتُّمْ. When you make a firm promise to Allah, fulfill it. By accepting faith in Allah, it is as if we have made a promise that we will worship Him alone and seek help from Him alone. We must strive to fulfill this firm promise. The second was the Surah Al-Ahzab. وَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and rely upon Allah. We are the bondsmen of Allah and we believe in Him, so we should rely upon Him. Now, inshallah, we'll explain two hadiths. The first one, مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَهُ. Whoever believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment should honor his guest. Our faith demands that we respect, serve, and care for our guests, offering them food and drink to the best of our ability and making them happy. The second hadith is لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you true believers until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Our faith requires that if we desire good for ourselves, we should also desire good for our brothers. Now, inshallah, we'll explain the series of the prophets. Hazrat Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam. Hazrat Ayyub is the blessed prophet about whom the Quran says, Ni'mal abd. What an excellent bondsman he was. We should reflect on why Hazrat Ayyub was called an excellent bondsman. It is obvious that one of his special qualities was patience and turning to Allah in abundance. Hazrat Ayyub is mentioned in 4 surah of the Quran Majid. The life of Hazrat Ayyub was full of severe trials and he faced many hardships. Yet Hazrat Ayyub remained patient and steadfast. At every turn in life, he turned towards his true Lord. Hazrat Ayyub was blessed with abundant wealth and many family members. But Allah tested him. His wealth was taken away. His family passed away and he was struck with a severe illness. Despite all these trials, Hazrat Ayyub never complained. Instead, he showed patience and said to Allah, Rabbi inni massani az-zurr wa anta arhamar rahimin. Oh my Lord, indeed, adversity has touched me and you are the most merciful. As a result, Allah answered his prayer, healed him, restored his family, and showed him with his special mercy. From these, we learned that the righteous bondsmen of Allah turn only to their Lord in times of trials and call upon Him for help. Now, inshallah, we'll start good morals. A Muslim is someone from whose tongue and hands others feel safe. One sign and indication of being a true Muslim is ensuring that we do not harm others with our words or our actions. If our tongue or hands hurt someone, it is indicated that we are not fulfilling the true meaning of being a Muslim. Today, let us pledge to use our tongue and hands to cause comfort to others and not to cause harm. We should avoid backbiting, refrain from abusive language, and never oppress anyone with our hands. Come on, say inshallah. Now, inshallah, we'll start live etiquettes, some etiquettes of Azaan. The Muazzin should have a pleasant voice. Second one, the Azaan should not be delivered in a singing style. Third one, the prescribed times should be adhered to. The fourth one, the Azaan should be given in a state of ablution. Fifth one, it should be called from an elevated place. Sixth one, the Azaan should be given facing the Qibla. Seventh one, the Azaan should be given while standing. Eighth one, the fingers should be placed in the ears. The prescribed words of the Azaan should be maintained. 10th one, the Azaan should be given slowly and clearly. 11th one, during Hayya ala Salah and Hayya ala Falah, the Muazzin should turn his face to the right and the left one. 12th one, in the Fajr Azaan, after Hayya ala Falah, the Muazzin should say twice, As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm, As-salatu khayrun min al-nawm. Now, inshallah, we'll start Shariat issue Sunnat Kifaya. If one or a few people perform the act, the sin of neglecting the Sunnah will not be upon anyone, such as Etiquettes. Mustahab, an action that the Prophet Muhammad performed occasionally, doing it brings reward, but leaving it does not incur sin. It is also called nafil or mandu. There is more reward in a sunnat muakkada than in a mustahab. Now, inshallah, we'll explain Wajib, an action that is more necessary than sunnatul muakkada and close to being false. Neglecting it incurs more sin than neglecting sunnate muakkada. But denying it does not make one a disbeliever. Halal, that which is allowed and permissible based on definitive evidence. Haram, that which is forbidden and prohibited based on definitive evidence. Considering it permissible makes one disbeliever, and engaging in it makes one a sinner, transgressor, and deserving of severe punishment. Makruh, dirt which is a discouraged based on reasonable evidence. Mubah, that which is a neutral, meaning that doing it or leaving it carries no reward or punishment. Now, inshallah, we'll start Azkar of prayer, method of Eid prayers. The method of the performing Eid prayers, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. The Imam and the followers should first make the intention that they are offering 2 rakats of the Eid prayer with 6 additional takbir while facing the Qibla. The followers should also intend that they are praying behind this Imam. After making the intention, the Imam says Allahu Akbar aloud and raises his hands to tie them. And the followers should also quietly say Allahu Akbar and tie their hands, and both the Imam and followers then recite the Sana. After the Sana, the Imam should say Allahu Akbar aloud, raising his hands to his ears and then letting them down. All the followers should do the same. Then for the second time, the Imam should say Allahu Akbar again, raising his hands to ears and letting them down, with the followers doing the same. On the third takbir, the Imam and the followers should raise their hands, but this time fold them, not letting them down. The Imam should then quietly recite the Ta'uz and Tasmiyah and recite Surah Fatiha aloud, followed by any surah of the Quran. After these, they should perform ruku and sajda, completing 1 rakat of the prayer. But in the second rakah, after standing up, the Imam first recites Surah Fatiha and another surah aloud. After completing the surah, instead of going to ruku, immediately the Imam and followers perform the takbir by raising their hands and then dropping them. Then for the second and third time, the Imam should raise his hand after saying Allahu Akbar and leave, and the followers also do the same. On the fourth takbir, the Imam and followers go into ruku and complete the prayer in usual manner. After completing prayer, the Imam supplicates and ascends the pulpit to deliver the sermon. All the followers should listen quietly. If the Imam makes a supplication after the sermon, there is no harm in that. Just like Friday prayers, Eid prayers also have 2 sermons, and sitting between them is sunnah. In the Eid sermon, it is recommended to repeat, say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd. At the beginning and in the middle, the Imam should explain the necessary ruling related to Eid in the sermon. For the Eid prayer, it is Sunnat to recite any two surahs from the Surah Jum'ah or the Surah Munafiqun, the Surah Al-A'la and the Surah Al-Ghashiyah. Now, inshallah, we'll ask a question. Please keep the answer. Our question, your answer. First one, have you firmly resolved to recite the Quran daily? Second one, how long does a childhood habit last? Third one, how much Quran do you intend to recite daily? The fourth one, how many parts are there in the Quran Majid? The fifth one, how many surahs are there in the Quran? Sixth one, how many manzil are there in the Quran? Seventh one, how many ruku are there in the Quran? Eighth one, whose word is the Quran? Ninth one, what is the meaning of tajweed? 10th one, will reciting the Quran increase your faith? 11th one, what is the meaning of wa tawakkal ala Allah? 12th one, mention a hadith about honoring guests. 13th one, which prophet was referred to Ni'amul Abd? 14th one, in how many surahs is the name of Hazrat Ayyub mentioned? 15th one, mention 5 etiquettes of Azaan. Okay children, class is dismissed. I'll see you on a Sunday. Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.